I wanted to just briefly make a video about why I play a 6-string bass, why I recommend that all serious bassists pick up a 6-string, and kind of the pros, the cons, and the double-edged swords of playing an instrument like this. So let me get mine, and I will be right back. Alright, so this is my 6-string bass. I play an Ibanez EHB 1506MS. I got it at a really good price off Sweetwater Used. I just paid a guy cash for it. They retail for about $2,000. I think I paid straight up $1K over PayPal, just like cash, probably a year ago. So that's probably like, what, 50 bucks, 20-25 USD. I'm making maybe a separate video on this specific bass, but I just want to talk about pros, cons, and I'll alternate between the two. So pros, the way I visualize this bass, it is a high-strung 5-string and a low-strung 5-string at the same time. So if you're playing like gospel lines, like your Kabadu or whatever, not necessarily Kabadu, but like you're playing like even some jazz stuff. Like the first jazz players had 7 strings for electric, because that bass note you can do kind of contrapuntal, I think is like the more technical term. You can do like Alberti bass kind of stuff. You have that lower range, and for a lot of gospel, a lot of jazz, a lot of metal, it's essential to have the low B string. And on the flip side, for a lot of modern fusion, prog stuff, and even just like basic jazz gigs, it's helpful to have this high string. On my channel, I did a Guthrie Govan cover, and I use the high string. You need it for this. He plays a high strung 5-string, or I think it's Seth Govan, his brother. But he plays a high strung 5-string. The benefit of this is you can swap between both forms. You have the most versatile bass for kind of whatever genre you're playing in. On top of that, you have range in your hand. So if you're playing like Spain normally and you're doing the solo, that's like... Sorry, I'm like fucking tucked in. I'll show you. Like you'd have to go all the way up to here onto like the 18 on a 4-string. It's nice to just have the ability to play those harder fusion solos all under your hand at one time. Makes life a lot easier. Don't have to jump around as much. The first downside I'll mention is the price. These are pretty expensive. There's not a lot on the used market. I'm a really cheap person, so I'm always on Sweetwater Used. I'm always on Reverb. I'm always on Facebook. I mean, I got a really great deal on this one. But if you want to get into 6-string bass, it is hard to find something that's well engineered and playable, that's also kind of in that like $500 range, which is where most players start, which is why I think 6-string bass is kind of a instrument that you have to already play guitar or bass to get into. I played guitar for 2 years before I basically dropped it entirely to become a 6-string bassist. I was playing both for a point in time, but I just couldn't manage practicing the 2 instruments at once, and this is what my favorite was of the 2. I think that's why you see 6-string bassists are very proficient in general, because they're coming from other instruments that they've already put a lot of time into. The next pro I'll talk about is it's a little bit unique visually. If somebody sees you on stage, especially as a bassist, it is really easy to forget you. And even in my experience with my very, very limited gigging experience, being 18 and doing like high school gigs, I get a lot more people asking about the 6-string bass, a lot more bands asking me about it if they want to like play with them. It's important to stand out as a musician, I'm sure you know, online and in person. So having kind of this visual aspect that's kind of tied to your identity a little bit is really nice. People can immediately like recognize you of all the bands in a set because you're the only one with a fucking crazy instrument. Specialization is also important. It forces you to understand all these genres because you have all this range. If you're serious about practicing, you're gonna want to take all of the capabilities of a 6-string into account and kind of practice it all. So you're going to be a better bassist overall, I think, if you just dive into this. Going on to cons again. Lack of options. There's not a lot of 6-string basses. I talked about this a little bit already, but Ibanez has like 2 playable models. Dingwalls are like 3K. A Kiesel is like 4K if you want something that's not dog shit. You can't play a Spectre because they're not good. You can play an ESP, but they don't have a lot of options. They have like 2 models. I can't even think of any others. I've played maybe 5 basses and they've all been Ibanez. Yeah, there's not a lot of options for 6-string basses specifically. Next pro, let's talk about higher skill ceiling. And to counteract that, I'd say higher skill floor as well. It's a harder instrument to get into. I kind of talked about this as well, but you do have a lot more you can do with it if you master jazz and metal at the same time. You don't have to swap tunings, swap instruments. You can have everything you need for a gig, no matter if you're just like walking into a blind and you just get a chord chart in front of you, or if you're like in a studio setting or just writing with friends. You have all the range for wherever the song is going to take you, and being forced to kind of learn all of it, I think you do become a better player overall. Getting into like the specifically cons and the mixed kind of double-edged swords, as I called it, you have a lot more scrutiny on you playing a more visually distinctive instrument and also playing kind of a pretentious instrument. People are immediately going to point out, like, you're kind of dog shit, you're just doing this to stand out. And I think if you just played like a Fender 4-string and just did your job, you'd get a lot less of that. I think it's important to have that controversy, actually. I saw a video a long time ago about like how like with attractiveness, if you do something that's like, or even like character design and shit, like visual design, it's like if you do something that's like neutral to some amount of people, that's like a majority, that's kind of dog shit, because you want to get like something that people either love or they hate. And I think 6-string bass, especially to other musicians, is that. Some other downsides to that are people will immediately dismiss you if you play a 6-string. If they are like old head R&B people, or they are old head jazz people, or they are like, they're gonna assume you're pretentious and be pretentious automatically, and just not take interest in you. I feel, again, like I said, that controversy is, I'm willing to take that risk. I feel like that only like draws out more character or more individualism for me in a kind of gigging setting or a working with other musicians setting. It kind of forces you to only work with open-minded people who are maybe open to more creative ideas, more avant-garde stuff, which is what I'm into, partially. So that works out for me personally, but it's something I'd say be wary of if you're looking to pick up this instrument. Some more straight cons, you are going to need to do longer warm-ups. If you want to do depth warm-ups, like play every fret up to the neck for warm-ups and then do like 4-finger stuff, like you're doing a lot more of it. I'd say it's like at least 50% harder to do more of it. It's the most boring part of playing this instrument, is the warm-ups before you do your jazz stuff and your metal stuff for the day. So my warm-ups usually take 30 to 45 minutes, and sometimes I'm just done. Like I'm tired, I get home from work, I get home from school, and I don't want to do my warm-ups and then go practice. So I'll sometimes quit at warm-ups, and that's something you have to be aware of. It is a more laborious instrument to get under your fingers, but I think there is enough reward there for me to continue playing it. Other thing is weight. I am blessed with this EHB. I have it in like setting position. I usually play it way lower, but it is really light. It is headless. It doesn't look very cool, frankly. I don't like the look of it, but it is very, very lightweight. It is around the same weight as like one of my heavier guitars. If you play like a Gibson, it's the same weight. It's like probably 8 pounds. I'll put up the number on the screen, how much they're supposed to be. But a lot of basses aren't this light. I'm actually looking into a 37-inch Ibanez. I'll put the photo up of that, but it is a heavier bass. I've played it in shops. This one's a 36 at the lowest. But yeah, that's something to be aware of. If you are a smaller person or a woman, it is a lot on your shoulder. Even this is kind of annoying if you stand with it for a long time. Again, there are ergonomic options like this guy, but again, not a ton of options in general unless you go custom shop. So you kind of have to pick between like 4 Ibanez models and then a custom shop. What else do we have? Oh yeah, people will assume you're pretentious. If you're interested in 6-string bass, you probably are a little bit pretentious. So they're gonna find out either way, is kind of what I've decided. But people assume you're pretentious, and it's a pretentious instrument. So I don't know, double-edged sword there. I talked about people dismissing you, but people also just assume you're very good, which can be a double-edged sword. It's kind of that scrutiny thing again, where you have to have a moderate grasp on every genre to not be immediately dismissed. Yeah, people assume that you're versatile. Sometimes people assume it's like a very metal instrument, which I don't like. I don't really love metal. I practice a lot of metal technique and I love prog, but I don't like play death metal unless I'm with friends. So that's another thing. People assume it's like a metal thing because of the fucking crazy offset and like the stab wound necrophagist kind of cover art pattern on this bass specifically. Yeah, I think that's a good summary of some bassline pros, cons, neutral stuff. I saw a Scott's bass lesson video on this forever ago. It's like an hour-long podcast where he talks about Jean Bertucci's, I don't know why I said it like that, like fucking French, like finger thing where he mutes these strings so they don't ring out. With this bass specifically, in passive mode or active mode, because it has a switch, I've never had terrible string ring. This isn't even like a particularly well set up bass. I paid like $50 for a setup and he did it kind of shitty. I tried like a different guy and it was terrible, and I'm just, again, too cheap to do it again. And it's fine, but like up here, there's some buzzy and there's like dead frets up here, just on these highest strings, and that's on me for being too lazy to fucking twist the knob for 2 seconds. But I've never had an issue with this like buzzing thing he's talking about. Again, this is a nice bass relatively, but maybe it's like a modern electronics thing versus old electronics. Never been an issue for me recording or playing in a live setting even when I'm just playing like 4-string lines, like 3-string like metal stuff, like thrashy, like all low E and fucking A. I've never had anybody talk to me or notice like either playing not studio volume, like stage volume out of a like 2x12, or I'm sorry, 2x14 or whatever the fuck it was, but or in like a practice session with friends with like live drums. It's never been an issue where it's buzzy. So I would in my experience kind of dismiss that if you've heard that online. But yeah, this is my 6-string bass. I'm thinking about getting an 8-string. My goat plays a 9-string, so I don't know. We're gonna get up there, but I'm gonna keep this one probably, unless I can get my hands on that other Ibanez one for cheap. It's a less expensive model, but it's going for more right now. Whatever. Maybe I'll do a video on like my obsessive bass shopping, like when I'm in the gym or when I'm like on the toilet or whatever. I'll always be on Facebook every day. I don't know. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.